At Charity Charge, our mission is to power yours. Most banks and financial service providers weren't built for nonprofits. They don't understand your structure or how you operate. That's why we exist. We proudly serve more than 3,000 organizations across the U.S., offering tools built exclusively for the sector. From credit cards and expense management to bookkeeping and gift cards, every solution is designed to help you minimize operations and supercharge your impact. And we're more than just financial services. We're an educational community. We share resources every day on our podcast, blog, and webinars to help you stay informed, compliant, and empowered. Visit charitycharge.com to learn more and join the community. Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Charity Charge Show. This is Grayson Harris, and today we have a really exciting episode. We are joined by the new board president of the IEEE Foundation, John McDonald. John, thank you so much for coming on today.
Thanks for the opportunity, Grayson. Really appreciate it.
Well, I would love if you could quickly, set the stage as to, the IEEE Foundation and really the mission and the impact that that brings, and what's got you excited as you step into this new role.
Sure. I think, there's IEEE and the IEEE Foundation, and the IEEE is the world's largest professional technical organization. 500,000 members in 190 countries. Think of the IEEE Foundation as the philanthropic partner, of IEEE. And so the foundation has about 280, 290 funds that support awards, scholarships, things that IEEE programs promote. So the IEEE Foundation really is a partner of the IEEE and really supports the IEEE.
Amazing. And John, you were a member of IEEE first and foremost, right? Kind of back from your professional days. Can you speak a little bit more to that and how IEEE really provided value to yourself?
Definitely. IEEE, the Institute of Electrical Electronics Engineers, I actually joined the IEEE 55 years ago. So in 1971, as a second year electrical engineering student at Purdue University. The reason I joined was at that time, our professors told us to join. I don't know how that would work today, but back then the professor said, you will join IEEE. So I joined in 1971, and I also was inducted into the Electrical Engineering Honor Society in 1971, which is now part of IEEE, called IEEE Eta Kappa Nu. And now, so both of those are 55 years. The question is what benefits? So, I mean, how, are you joined, but what are the benefits to you? And I really am a proponent of having a balance between internal and external activities. If you're 100% internal, you go to work every day and you do a good job at your work. If you're a student, you go to your classes and do well with your courses, but you don't really expand your career, develop your career as much as you can. I really say you want a balance between internal and external activities. And for me, the ideal external is IEEE because it helps you with your job. The three areas for me, as I look back 55 years, the three areas that have helped me is technology. I've really learned technology to a much deeper extent, and that's helped me with my work career. I bring that value to my work career. I've led standards work since 1987. I've published 150 papers, co-authored 5 books. So, it gives you those opportunities. Second is networking. It's unreal how you can expand your network of contacts through IEEE. And when I think back, it hit me that I've worked for 6 companies in over 50 years. 5 of my 6 job changes were through friends in my network. Friends
Amazing.
contacted me, and most of those, Grayson, were through IEEE, those friends. And third is leadership opportunities. In a volunteer organization like IEEE, if you want to lead, you volunteer and you lead. And I always say, too, that leading a group of volunteers is much more challenging than leading a group of people at your business. At your business, people are getting paid to do their work, so they feel obligated to do what you ask them. At a volunteer organization, they're busy with their work or school, and you have to inspire them to do extra as a volunteer. So a good leader in a volunteer organization like IEEE is truly a good leader. And so the leadership experience I've gotten in 55 years has been invaluable in my career. So those are really the three huge benefits that I've realized.
Amazing, and, all of that context is incredible, and I wanna narrow in a little bit more on this relationship between IEEE and the IEEE Foundation. You know, you had, over 50 years as a member, a contributing member, right, to IEEE, and only recently have you stepped more into that foundation side, right, supporting those philanthropic efforts. I'd love to learn a little bit more about what that transition was like coming from more of the engineering background, right, to now you're working within the nonprofit space. It's a completely different set of challenges, communications, and really goals, right? So how has
Yeah.
that journey been?
It's very different, Tracy. I mean, it's very different. Many of us, we start out in IEEE 100% technical, 100% technical, meeting standards, writing papers, authoring books, panel sessions, technical conferences. And that's what I did for many, many years. In fact, I chaired a technical committee in the Power and Energy Society, and I was president of the Power and Energy Society of IEEE in 2007, leading over 40,000 power engineers worldwide. So very, very technical. But you know what? I'm the type of person that I feel very grateful for those that have helped me. Since I've realized I really want to give back. And so we always say in the foundation, we say you can give back three ways: time, talent, or treasure. Time, talent, or treasure. And so I said, well, time, I want to have leadership positions in those organizations that help me. Talent, my experience, I have a lot of experience and I can help both with leadership as well as operations. And then treasure, my wife and I have really done significant donations. But I thought the ultimate in giving back was to get involved with the foundation, and not just giving as an IEEE member, but being on the board. And so I joined in 2021, joined the board. And within a year, I was asked to chair the 50th anniversary celebration campaign. The 50th anniversary of the IEEE Foundation was February 6, 2023. And we had an 18-month campaign, and I was very fortunate to be able to chair that. And we had a lot of activities associated with that. And then for the last 2 years, I was vice president of development. Development with a foundation is key because you're in charge of fundraising and communications, core activities of any foundation. And I've been able to do that for the last 2 years, which has been good experience. And then, of course, the ultimate now is to be able to be the president of a foundation. So to me, it's all about giving back. And I felt the ultimate way to give back is through the foundation, the board, and now being president this year.
Yeah, thank you for sharing a little bit more about that journey. I'd love to, if you could share maybe a lesson, maybe especially from these last 2 years, right, as vice president of development, that that was really surprising to you, right, and you wouldn't have thought was a really kind of important and key aspect of that role, really coming from that technical background.
I think I've spent a lot of time with donors and potential donors. And one thing that surprised me is IEEE has so many programs that have social impact. These programs, IEEE fosters technology and innovation to benefit mankind. And so what we're all about is benefiting mankind, social impact. And what I find is, I think the biggest surprise is when people are aware, when IEEE members are actually non-members too, when they become aware of some of these programs that we have, it really touches them in their heart, and they really see the positive social impact these programs have. And so what it drives me and the board drives us is, if we can make more people really aware of everything that we're doing, we'll have, well, there'll be much more awareness, but also much more
Buy-in.
inclination, yeah, to buy in and possibly donate, to possibly help. And so I think the biggest thing is increasing awareness of all the things that we do. And what I've seen is when we do that, the impact is very positive.
Amazing. Whenever you're sitting down, you mentioned these donor relationships, right? And these conversations that you're having with potential and current donors. What is your process for really understanding kind of their values, their wants, their desires, and then communicating, well, here's how you can achieve some of that through, the variety of programs at the IEEE.
Yeah. So, whoever it is, if it's a group or if it's an individual, you always do some research first and find out what's the history, if you have any history of this person. Have they given before? If they haven't given before, are they a member of any particular parts of IEEE? Um, for instance, are they in honor society? Were they inducted? But they've been inactive basically, but they're a member. That those types of things. But what's fun is, I think it's fun is to take. I think of like an all you can eat restaurant, okay, that has a huge buffet. Well, anyone that walks in is not gonna eat everything, right? When somebody walks in, there's certain things that are their favorites that they're gonna eat, and that's what sitting down with a person is like, is you have a tremendous selection of programs and activities that are possible areas for donation, but you don't know what this person or group is interested in, okay? And I think and it's fun is to go through some of these things and see what sticks. What is it that interests them? And then, of course, when you find something that interests them, then you can do a deeper dive, and these are more specifics. These have been the positive benefits of this program. If there was more funds available, these are some additional things the program could do and that type of thing. So I think it's fun is starting out with a superset, right? And then narrowing it down, but not in a standard way, but in a very personal way with each person or each group.
Great analogy, that the buffet, right? We talk about on the show all the time of connecting, values of donors, right, with the need of the organization. And I love the way that you really kind of described it, right? Figuring out the dishes, right, out of the entire platter that they really want to focus in on. That was awesome. Well, I'd love to speak a little bit more to, it's the beginning of 2026, and 2025 was a really exciting year for you, and the foundation and IEEE. Can we speak a little bit to, some of the accomplishments and stuff that was really exciting for the foundation last year?
I think one of the things we had a successful 50th anniversary campaign, and it's time. Last year it was time to begin thinking of the next campaign. So we actually kicked that off last year. So we have a lot of work ongoing with planning the next campaign, and that will continue this year in 2026, and
And
that's
what is
very.
that campaign?
So it's being planned. The quiet phase will begin next month, and we're putting together a campaign cabinet. Let's say we've had a task force, and the task force has met 3 times. We have a set of PowerPoint slides that we're refining that we can use with donors and potential donors and things. So we're all the pieces are coming together, but it's going to be big. It's going to go 4 or 5 years, and so we're spending a lot of time putting the groundwork together now, and that's really exciting. One thing that we did a lot of work with and have implemented now is a strategic plan, a 5-year strategic plan. And, even so much of our committees, particularly the development the last 2 years, the tasks that we did with development were driven by the strategic plan. What does the strategic plan want us to do? And that drove our agenda for the year. And I'm happy to say too that 2024 was a record year for the foundation for development. Just did very, very well. Giving Tuesday,
Mm.
um, and December 2nd of last year, we received more donations on December 2nd of 2025 than we ever have on any Giving Tuesday in the past.
What do you think went into that? What was different about last year?
Well, I think a couple things. I think one was, the question is, how do you remember I talked about how making people aware of what you're doing, and also not just aware, but in a way that resonates with them, that they have so much passion for it that they'll give. I think with social media, different, first of all, different platforms, social media. Second is how do you craft the message? Third is how do you empower the programs to promote themselves effectively on social media? And one thing we've done now is we've challenged our board, our foundation board, to not just be 100% giving, but we've also challenged them to let's contribute money and have a match for Giving Tuesday donations. So
Mm,
we increased that match last year to $75,000. And this was contributions from foundation board members. And so, it's very important when a program says, please donate, the first 75,000 of donations across the whole IEEE Foundation will be doubled 100%, right? That's big, and, many of the programs started right away. The Giving Tuesday just isn't one day, but it starts weeks ahead of time, and many programs started right away to get the word out, to get donations early so they could double those donations through the foundation board match.
amazing. That board buy-in, right, is so key, and it really starts right at the top in the sense of yourself, right, and contributing and really kind of leading with that torch. How has it been in terms of getting that board buy-in that led to a $75,000 contribution match? Uh, what lessons maybe have you learned that you want to carry forward in terms of navigating those type of relationships?
That's a really good question because, I think we all have examples of serving on boards where it was on your resume and you attended meetings, but after the meeting, you really didn't have anything to do. It was and you may have wanted to contribute, but you didn't have opportunity to contribute, or that mechanism wasn't in place. What I like about the foundation board is we really go out of our way to make sure all the board members are involved, but not involved in areas that they're not interested in. You know what I mean? But they so what we do is at the beginning of each year, like we'll be doing that soon, is every board member receives a survey and they tell us which areas they want to help with during the year. Now this could be calling donors and thanking them for donations. It could be writing thank you notes and mailing them. It could be calling lapsed donors to see if they'll contribute again. It could be participating in a donor meeting with a development officer, virtual or in person. It could be presenting about the foundation to other IEEE groups. Many opportunities here for board members to participate in those things that they want to do, and we require a certain minimum number of checks. You just
Understood.
can't
Yeah.
say, "I'll do one." There's a
Yeah.
minimum number that you have to do, and then our Tripoli Foundation staff is very, very good at implementing that and plugging them in. So if it's donor related, it would be development. If it's social media related, it would be social. Different staff members would
Yeah.
get those board members in the areas that they're responsible for and get them plugged in.
I have one more follow-up on that. I think something that a lot of nonprofits can struggle with is, especially with board members, in terms of the activities that they're doing, you don't want it to be too narrow, minute and too specific, but you also don't want it to be too big, right? There's this kind of happy medium and balance you want to strike in terms of the treasure and that time that they're contributing, right, to these board meetings and conversations.
Right.
What does a good activity really is comprised of for a board?
Um, Well, I could say some of the ones that I've done. I'll be given names of 10 past donors, and it's near the end of the year, and we haven't received a donation from them this year. And I'll have a lot of their history of donation, and I'll call them or I'll send them an email. And that's one activity. Another is joining a development officer in a meeting. One is presenting about the foundation to different groups. Um, so, so really the amount of time to spend on these activities, Grayson, is not a lot. And the other thing, what I like about our staff, the foundation staff, is they really go out of their way to make it easier for the volunteer, board member volunteer to be effective, eliminate a lot of the administrative stuff. So what I can focus on is my strength, my network, my strong network, my experience, as opposed to some of the administrative stuff that you might not be interested. Not you feel like you're wasting your time doing that. That's not why you're on the board, and that's not the best impact that you can have on a potential donor. Our staff really does a good job of empowering the board members and utilizing their strengths.
Understood. I really appreciate that. And another really key component of the IEEE Foundation is the Foundation Day. That's coming up in February. Can you speak a little bit more to what that stands for and the importance that that brings to the foundation?
Foundation Day is this will be in February. This will be our third one, and it really is. To me, I think of the heart. The heart. Our value statement on the foundation is really we're the heart of giving, the heart of philanthropy of IEEE. And we use in our mission statement we use words like inspiring, and inspiring donors, igniting. The efforts of the programs to be successful and maximize their social impact. Foundation was started February 16th, 1973. We celebrated the 50th anniversary in 2023. Then in 2024, February 16th was our first Foundation Day. And then 2024, 2025, so 2026 will be our third one. What we want to do, think about, we've just finished Giving Tuesday on December 2nd last year. And there was a big push to donate. So what most people what we want to emphasize, let's say with Foundation Day, is it's a day to really thank those that have donated time, talent, treasure, and not ask for money again so soon after Giving Tuesday. And so it's what we really celebrate is the foundation, all the things the foundation does, but in a way of really going out of our way to thank individual donors, corporate donors, people that have shared their time, their experience, their talent, in addition to treasure.
I love that, and I think that's this trap, right, that you can fall into within philanthropy, where your only communication maybe with the donor is that once a year Giving Tuesday annual donation campaign, and it's so important to feel celebrated as a donor, as a volunteer, as a board member, right? I'm sure your board members are incredibly excited for the Foundation Day as well in terms of that recognition of the service that they brought. So, in terms of it's been going on for 3 years, have you
Mhm.
seen, what has the impact been over these few years of the Foundation Day that's making you wanna keep doing it?
Well, I think it's like you said, I think when you get contacted by a foundation, your first thought is they're going to ask me for money again, right? And it's so powerful and it's so unusual, let's say, to be thanked for what you've done without asking for more money, you know?
Without the thank you, and it's just,
Right.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah, right. Say, okay, you're thanking me. Is there anything else? Right? Say, no, no, we just want to thank you. I've spent a lot of time calling donors to just thank them. And this is not only cumulative, cash donors, but also donors that have included the foundation in their estate plans. Okay. So, different types of donors. But I think then people appreciate more the foundation because when you donate and people go out and a foundation goes out of their way to thank you, how do you retain a donor? How if the donor has no communications and if the donor feels okay, I contributed but nobody cared, probably won't donate again, you know. But if you can keep the communications and really go out of your way to thank people. I just sent a thank you email, was it yesterday or the day before, an organization, a large donation. And they replied. And so, you send a thank you, not expecting to receive anything in return. And they replied with a very positive response. And
Yeah.
that really made me feel so good that this thank you, was easy to do, but it really had more impact than I anticipated because I received a very nice reply back. So I think So that's what Foundation Day is really focuses on, awareness and really going out of our way to thank what's happened in the past.
Amazing. I appreciate you sharing a little bit more about that, and I think there's definitely some lessons that can be pulled from that, right, for our audience, and how important it is to be maintaining the communications with donors, with volunteers, with the community, and maintaining that relationship, right? Because it shouldn't just be that transactional communication. So I absolutely love that approach with having kind of a day dedicated to it. As you step into the role, it's now been 8 days. Has there been anything that surprised you, and what's exciting to you as you step into this new position?
Nothing that's after this is my 6th year on the board, so no real surprises. It's more excitement, I think, on my part. We have our first board meeting coming up in early February. So, and that'll be in conjunction with the IEEE board. So the IEEE global leadership and the foundation board leadership will all be together in the same spot. So that's always fun because, you not only have the foundation board meetings, but you also interact with the IEEE leadership. I think, for me, it's, giving back. And as a president, I feel like I can do even more now to give back and maybe even more impactful. And one thing I really enjoy doing is thanking, or let's say recognizing donors. We have 12 different levels called Heritage Circle where we recognize cumulative donors. This is $10,000 or more of cumulative donations. And there's no greater feeling, than to really recognize donors for that. The second one is Forever Generous donors. These are donors that have included the IEEE
Legacy.
Foundation state plans.
Yeah.
And again, I've done, we recognized a lot of the Forever Generous donors. And then we started something new, Grayson. We want to recognize donors that may not give over $10,000 cumulative, but they give on a regular basis, you know? And so we're starting this year, we're starting a new consecutive giving program called Ada Lovelace. So, I've been a donor 15 consecutive years and have a nice digital icon, electronic icon for that. But we want to do more, not just digitally, we want to do more with recognition of consecutive donors. Again, then you have a better chance of them continuing to give over a longer period of time through some really nice recognition.
I love that. Well, John, I really appreciate you coming on. And how can our audience get involved with the IEEE Foundation, the celebration that's coming our way here in February?
Yeah, yeah, it'll be our third one, February 16th. Yeah.
Amazing. And the website, is it IEEE.org?
IEEE.org, and you can find the foundation on the IEEE website, or you can go directly to the IEEE Foundation.
Amazing. Well, John, thank you so much for coming on, and congrats stepping into this new position with the IEEE Foundation as the new board president, and sharing more about the work and impact and continued legacy of the organization.
Thanks, Grayson. Appreciate the opportunity again. Thank you.